Ashlee Trevino, let's get into it. This is kind of the thing that you brought to me, so do you want to give the details and we can go from there?
So, for those of you that don't know Ashlee Trevino, she's a creator, a very large creator on here that blew up because she likes to date inmates. And she married an inmate. She's a single mom to two daughters. That's not the children's biological father.
Yep.
But she blew up because she was sharing her, like how she dates inmates and stuff like that journey, which kind of brought her a lot of really good attention and really negative attention all at the same time.
Yeah, and first off, I mean, that's a crazy thing. I guess whenever you're making content, you kind of need to get your niche, right? But this is something that is like affecting your life, going to affect your daughter's lives. Like, how are you making your thing dating inmates? That alone just is crazy to me.
Well, a lot of people are all about the bag, baby.
I know.
And that's all it boils down to is that almighty dollar. And I didn't even know that there was gifts that expensive to buy on TikTok. When I was doing a lot of my research, I was seeing she can make like 10, 12 grand a live sometimes. That's crazy.
Think about this. Okay.
That is crazy.
This is all she's doing. So she's making that much money in a live. And all she's doing is like literally talking about dating people in prison. She's moved on to I don't want to be mean. She looks like a damn troll. And and she is showing her body as much as she can and trying to like flirt with people all over the place on there. And it's just like, how are you making that much money? That's crazy.
When people are trying to help people and use their platform in a way, say she was dating inmates, but she wanted to use her platform because she is making this extra money to help give back to her community or help other mothers that are struggling, other single mothers make it come up in this world. But it's gross when you use your platform and it's only really for your benefit and not even her children's, unfortunately.
Joe's got it right. Whatever she gets, she only actually gets like 40% of that because TikTok takes so much.
Right.
And I get it, because you got to think you're spending the money on the coins, spending the coins in the app, and they take a portion of that. And then whenever they pay out the creator, they're also taking a portion of that. So it's like, by the time it actually gets back to somebody, you only got this little tiny bit of it. Like every time somebody sends like a rose or whatever, I think that's only one coin. You have to get like 6 roses before you actually even get paid a cent, which is
Right.
crazy. But these big like giant gifts. Like we're talking, people are sending gifts.
$1,000 gifts.
Yeah, $1,000.
I didn't even know that gifts like that existed.
For literally $1,000 for looking like a troll trying to take your clothes off. Like, that's crazy.
I don't gift anymore. I'd rather get. You see, now I agree to that because,
Cash App.
like you said, the creator's not even really getting a portion of the money, but also there has been so many people, and kudos to the people that can make a living here on this app.
Mm-hmm.
We're not blessed enough to be in that category, but there's people that make livings off of this app all the time for different reasons. And a lot of it isn't because they're putting back all this positivity out there.
No.
Drama is what creates views. Drama and chaos and stuff like that is what keeps that bag rolling in.
The only thing I see on here that I really, really like what the people are doing is like, I talked about him a couple episodes ago, but there's this dude that like just sits there and draws, and he's very PG, like your kids can watch him and stuff. And he is freaking fantastic. The people that are kind of showing off a skill, those are the really, really cool ones that whenever I give off money or gifts or whatever to somebody, those are the ones that I send stuff to. But the people that, even the people that are on here debating and stuff, you really have to make sure that person is kind of taking in all sides and not just throwing out like one-sided bullshit, because a lot of them only throw out one side of everything. They don't do the research, and they're just on here spouting out nonsense, getting just hundreds and hundreds of dollars constantly. And that's, I don't know, that's kind of the bad thing that Marie and I are talking about. Part of the problem with Marie and I, we talk about serious stuff, and people don't always like that. And we speak our mind, and people don't like that either. You have to pick a side. You can't look at both sides because that pisses people off. We aren't showing skin. We aren't, taking our clothes off and doing all that. So we aren't going to make money that way. It's just you have to do very, very specific things on here to actually get anywhere. And I don't know. I'm not willing to do a lot of that.
Yeah, and like Joe says, a lot of people create drama intentionally because drama is what brings views. Views brings money, gifts, etc. Also, when you're living your life on live 24/7, just like the girl Adrielle Sigler that we discussed on here previously, her whole day, from the day the second her eyeballs would open till she would be up live streaming all night. That's got to, like, I couldn't be live like that all day long. There's no way my kids would get any attention. Like, I have a hard time going live for PodTox 1 hour a week. Right. Let alone if I was to be sitting in front of this camera live 24/7.
And that's the thing. Like, listen, if that's how you want to live your life, if that is your source of income or whatever, we are not trying to knock you. If you're making it work, then cool. Congratulations. You are one of the few. Apparently, you deserve it. You did something to get there. And regardless what it was, congrats. But if you have kids and you're on live that much, if you're literally, people are watching you sleep, watching you freaking go to the bathroom, like there's all types of stuff that people show, and it's just, it cannot be healthy.
And what about your privacy? Like for me, my kids are small. They bust in the room. They might say something that like, they're not realizing they're saying it to whoever's listening on the other end of this. You know what I mean? You want to keep your privacy in certain situations.
And the kids thing is tricky, man, because like if that is how you make your income and, you do have to be on for 8-10 hours a day, whatever, streaming, then okay, there are going to be some slip ups. The kids are going to walk in sometimes. I get it. If they're small kids, like I've had my kids on social media here and there, but it's not something that I highlight. If they're getting on constantly, if people are seeing them constantly, you're going to get creepers and you're going to get weirdos. And it's more likely that someone at school or something is going to see that person. And then if you're acting a fool, like, can you imagine? Because she's big enough that people at her kid's school have seen her. So can you imagine being one of those kids and going to school and somebody being like, oh, I saw your mom taking her clothes off on TikTok? That's crazy.
Well, that's why I am cautious about, like, out of all 4 of my kids, my oldest 2 want nothing to do with my social media, period. They don't want nothing to do with it. Very seldomly do I ever even show their faces on here. Now, my younger 2, they love getting in my videos, but I try not all the time having them as, like you said, the primary focus of my page, because one day their mind might change. You know what I mean? They're still too small to really be giving me consent like that. But the ones that are more vocal about, like, oh, mom, put your camera away. Like, I don't want this filmed. I respect that because it's their privacy, and kids are only little once and you don't want to expose them.
So Chronic said there's another girl who made money by pulling her heart monitor plug for food. We were actually going to talk about her too, because she was in the hospital or whatever, and it was something that she did. You probably know more about that one.
I do. I know more about her as well. So Her name is drawing a blank right now, but
Think of it.
she wanted to give birth early to her baby.
That's right.
So remember I was telling you about this last week.
Yep.
So she was asking the doctors at like 34 weeks of pregnancy, like, can I break my own water? How do I get my water to break? You can't get your water to break. It's got to naturally break. Yep. She wanted to give birth to a premature baby. And for those of you that don't know, I gave birth at 29 weeks to one of my kids. That was extremely premature. That was a very traumatic experience for me, and an experience that causes me still to this day a lot of detached feelings and trauma. Yep. Because it's not the normal what's supposed to go down during a pregnancy. And any parents that have ever had a child, Allie Ray, that's it.
Yep.
And a lot of parents that have had a child in the NICU unit, it is not something. You don't have the nurses running up and down for drinks and sandwiches for you and ketchup packets or a packet of sugar. They're there to save lives. She unplugged the monitor that was necessary to watch her child's heart and monitor the child because she wanted a turkey sandwich.
And chronic illness said CPS didn't do anything to her and closed the case. What? Like, you got to think about that. So I was a preemie too. Whenever I was born, I was 4 pounds 7 ounces. I was tiny baby, almost didn't make it. My lungs weren't fully developed. There were all types of issues. And my parents went through hell, wondering if I was even going to make it through the night. And this chick is intentionally doing that to her child for views. And then while she's in the hospital, she's basically making the nurses and all that her slaves, like forcing them, you're gonna come here right now, and jeopardizing the child to do that.
Also, she was going live a lot. So while she would be up there at the NICU unit, like, going live and just being so demanding and so rude to these people that are literally keeping your child alive because you're being reckless right now because you think you can unplug monitors. But she said that the nurses gave her permission to unplug the monitor.
No way in hell.
Right.
And I don't know, that again, between her and the Ashlee Trevino thing, what is the mental state of some of the people that are like, I have to get views. No matter what the heck I need to do, I will get views. And it's turning into, I'll risk my baby's life. I'll show off my body, anything and everything just to get that next like. And it is crazy because this is the type of stuff we're showing our kids.
Anything for views, money, clout, to be known. And it's sad because now there's like these, for instance, getting back to Ashlee Trevino, her daughters are embarrassed of her. They're always like, Mom, you're live. Like, they don't even have their own beds. Like, this mother is putting her own selfish needs above her child's basic needs and necessities.
And that's the crazy thing, because we were talking about this, because doesn't she get like, I don't know, she's always showing off all the things that she buys, and I saw quite a few.
She's very infatuated with like money
and what she has.
Like Louis Vuitton jewelry, but these are things that she never even. Somebody that's known finer things doesn't make such a big deal about finer things when they finally get them in life.
Right. And you know what? I get it. When you finally make your bag and you finally have money for the first time ever, and you're just like, I want to spend my bag. I want to flaunt it. I'm happy. I'm getting success somewhere. I get that. But the fact that while you're doing all this, your kids don't have a damn bed to sleep in.
She was just on the Bop House podcast with Camila. And the daughters were on the podcast as well. And the daughters were asked, like, Your mother's been buying herself Louis bags. She spent 40 grand when she went to New York City recently on a trip just as spending money. Do you guys still have a bed? And do you know what they said? No. And do you know what her excuse was? I'm too famous. I need security guards to go out in public with me now.
Yep.
But what a lot of people don't understand, this is a woman that I know I'm older than her. She's probably in her late 30s. But this woman literally doesn't have the bare necessities for her children, but you need a bodyguard to go out in public? But you're dating 18-year-old boys.
My biggest thing is like, okay, you can't go out in public. First off, you aren't that famous. Like, get over yourself. Second off, if security is what you need, get some security.
You know what's disgusting? I said, no one can make that excuse. We live in a world where online shopping is it. A lot of people just online shop.
Mm-hmm.
You mean to tell me that you couldn't have got 2 beds delivered so that your children have a safe space to sleep?
Yep. But then she's going to say, oh, but people will know where I live now and all that.
It's crazy.
That's the thing. No.
Well, stop inviting 18-year-old little young bucks that want to come up on TikTok that want a name to be known for themselves, that you're literally, you know what, in.
Her daughters are trying to get in on them too.
Well, that's the sad part. The daughters were the ones that wanted one of the men that she was with. So she cut her own daughter's throat to jump. Right. To make sure she could say, well, you know what? Sorry, too late, because I already did it. Honestly, I would have a hard time dating somebody younger than me. And we've already talked about this.
Yeah. And I mean, I get it. It depends because everybody's gone through different things. It's like I've dated people that are younger, older, all over the place. Now I settled with older because a lot of the younger ones, there's just too much bullshit. They just are not ready for life yet.
Like a maturity level type of deal is what's different. Yeah. Now, see, I've only dated like 10 years older than me. Mm-hmm. And that is the max I feel like I would go older. But I don't think I could, there's no way I could do 10 years younger. Nope, not for me.
Yeah, you're just, I feel like once you start hitting like in your 40s, once you get too far down, you're in a different life stage almost.
Right. I feel like because I'm done having kids, I'm not having no more kids. Right. I would feel like I would be making that person lose out on their opportunity to have their own child biologically, or plus I feel like I would be looking at all the things I hated about myself. It would be amplifying all my own aging things worse for myself mentally, because that's just how I am.
I get you.
Like I'd be like, oh my God, I need more Botox. I need more this. Like that's just where my head would be.
Man, if I was single and I was trying to date again, I could maybe do like 5 or 6 years younger. Maybe it would really have to depend on the person. Otherwise, older's the way to go.
Now, a lot of people in here might say age is just a number. But like when Kyle said, when you're in a different era of life though than someone else, or a season of life, age isn't just a number in my opinion, because like men mature a lot. It takes them a lot longer. To mature. Yeah. So for me to go to a way younger guy, I would feel like the maturity level we wouldn't be on equal playing fields almost.
And it does depend, because I've met 50-year-old women that acted like they were friggin' 18 and were crazy as shit. I've also met, I think the youngest one I've ever met and really like felt like I knew was she was 8 years younger than me, but she had her shit like together. It was all like she could have been 40. She was so far along. So you do come across the anomalies,
right?
For the most part, yeah, it just isn't going to work
And
out.
also, I want somebody that's closer to my age than closer to one of my kids' ages.
Right. But
Like
that's
that wouldn't sit well with me. I don't want to be like the one that's hanging out with like kids my that could be almost hanging out with my kids almost.
right, right. Yeah, and me and Shan have a good gap, but it's not. We're
There's
not.
a difference though when it's an older woman versus a
Yeah.
younger man. I'm sorry.
I feel like a lot of the guys that I see do that, especially when it's like a 20 plus year age gap, a lot of them, they aren't loyal with.
I've already had my fair share of disloyal people.
Right.
So I would rather just stay alone in the game than to go back down that rabbit hole again. I'm good with that.
With Ashlee Trevino, look at what she is doing. I don't actually know how old she is.
I don't know. For some reason, I'm going to be 45. I know I'm older than her by like 5 or 6 years probably. I think she's like 39, something around there. But my kids have my other devices. I can't look it up real quick.
Well,
I'm looking around.
the point of that though, look at the men she's going for these younger guys. That just shows the maturity level. I mean, if she is almost 40 and going for 18-year-olds, that's crazy. The age gap is just huge, but if they are still connecting and like somehow making it work on this weird level, then that just shows she is not mature. Like I don't know. Again, I think this whole thing it's almost like who is going to come along next? What is the crazy person that's going to one up these people going to do next? Because you always find something else crazier within a couple weeks. I mean, we could come up with a new story about some crazy creator every freaking week we do this.
And a lot of it is more women that are almost the PEDOS
Hmm.
than how women traditionally think that it's the men that are like that.
A lot of times I notice the women are either showing off their bodies or doing that, going like kind of just being slutty around, going for whoever they can. The guys, it's always like it's always arguing, like showing their ego. You know what I mean? Like trying to inflate their ego, where the women are going for self-worth type thing, like, oh, look at me, I can get this young dude.
Well, this girl made a song about her, you know what, and what it smells like. So
Oh,
just imagine that. I mean, like, come on now.
speaking of, did you see all the people pissed off? Not really pissed off. All the people upset because Bruno Mars made a dirty ass song. It was talking all about how he was wanting PUSSY all over the
Nope.
place. That's not Bruno Mars's style. He usually does like he's really good with words. He does really nice songs. So people freaked out like, oh my gosh, Hollywood's tainted Bruno Mars and all this stuff. It was hilarious. You gotta check that shit out.
And James, I agree with you. Like, sexual maturity does occur at different times than
Yeah.
others. I'm just I'm almost blown back by the women though on this app that are like taking the cake.
Think about it too, like that's one of the problems that I have with TikTok is how open this app is sometimes because you got to think kids get on here, homie. Like little freaking kids and they could stumble upon her nonsense at any time. And it's same with our stuff. I try to always have our stuff flagged so that kids cannot stumble in here because they don't need to hear the things we're talking about. This is not for kids. And most of the creators that are doing this stuff, they do not care about that. I've been in the lives and seen kids in there.
For those that might not know, Ashley was playing with a rose toy on one of her
Mhm.
lives.
Yeah.
And that was like a huge thing because people have that live screen recorded, and she absolutely was playing with a toy on live. Now, where does that cross? Like, my kids I don't let my kids on this app. My kids don't
Right.
have access to TikTok. But there are plenty of kids who do have access to this app, and that is not an appropriate thing for a child to come across.
But even I'm not even talking young. I'm talking like even 13, 14. Think about this. Let's say some girl who's 14 years old starting to experience kind of her sexuality and kind of figuring out what to do with boys and what's going on, all that stuff. And she gets on TikTok and constantly sees stuff like that. Girls taking off their clothes, somebody playing with themselves, all types of stuff. And she thinks that that's what the acceptable norm is, learning from those people. Like, what do you think she's going to do? And then people get all upset about, oh, the kids nowadays are a little more free with themselves. Well, probably a lot of that is why, because that's been going on for a while now. I just watched a podcast, and I can't think of her name. I'm horrible with names. But this is basically a lady that she's all about getting rid of. I don't know what I can say. We'll say P Hub. So she is all about getting rid of P Hub because that can, I don't want to say it's a healthy outlet, but that can be an outlet for people to explore as they're growing. A lot of people look at it, you know what I'm saying? But what was happening before, like I want to say 3-4 years ago, they had everything on P Hub because it was all about just the amount of content on there so they could get more ad views and ad clicks and make more money. So they had people being everything. I mean, child, everything.
Right.
I can't even say it on here.
I actually come across this in real life as well. Like, even with some kids that I go to school with. I mean, my kids go to school with. My
Yeah.
kids came home from school one day and they were like, Mom, I got a great way for you to make money. And I'm thinking, okay, what? Mom, you need to start an OF.
Yep.
What? What do you want me to do? Do you even know what OF stands for? Let me hear what it means. I got schooled by a 5 and 6-year-old, basically what OF was, from what they understood it to be. Because,
Yep.
hey, my friends' parents all do OF and they make bank. You
Yep.
should do it, Mom. You could do it. You'd make a lot of money. And you know what I told my daughters? You know what? Everybody does things differently. That's just something that I don't feel comfortable doing. And I tried to have that talk with my daughters about it. Like, just because so and so on the bus, I'm like, wait, so your friends' parents do it together? And
Yeah.
they're like, oh, yeah, Mom, it's like a lot of my friends at school. And I'm like, I'd rather be broke. I'd rather not be able to feed you. Like, I don't know. Like, I said, how would you feel if somebody came home or somebody showed you a phone and showed naked pictures of me? How would that make you feel? And you know what my daughter said?
You wouldn't
As long
care.
as you're getting paid for it, who really cares?
And you can try and raise your kids, however you want. You can try and protect them as much as possible, but they're going to run into these kids at their school.
And then a lot of times, I guess apparently when you do OF, you have to advertise on like your Instagram or your social media pages. And if you're already posting pictures of your children, now you're mixing innocence with stuff like that. And then that's where the PEDOs come into the picture.
Yep.
And then they follow you because they see, oh, this girl shares her kids and she's sharing herself and she mixes it all together.
Indiana said it. If you ever want to want a real partner ever again, you won't be dating any OF model, and that's right. Like,
Right.
I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. There are some, like, I think what is her name? Sophie, I think it's Sophie Rain. I think she is one of the most like viewed, like one of the biggest OF models. She makes, I can't remember. She made like 40 million or something like that. She does supposedly shows herself, but like makes a big deal about the fact that she has never been with anybody. So then people are throwing that kind of thing in the mix, and you know how many people just flock to her because they want to be the one, and it's just there's all types of sick stuff like that. Like you're throwing around your sexuality like that. It's a weird place to be.
There's even a few recovery content creators. There's one
Yeah.
larger guy recovery content creator that I follow on here who turned his whole TikTok basically into OF. And then he's like, hey, I'm looking for, other women in recovery that want to collab with me. And
So Indiana said, that's a lie. That's what I thought too, but you have to think about it. She almost has to still be, because if she wasn't, whoever the guy is that bedded her would be getting that bag. I mean, he would be going crazy telling everybody
hold
no.
on now. I don't know if I agree with you because she might have had them all sign NDAs.
Maybe.
Hold on. Maybe there's just a few because I know my list is small. So if there's a few people, you have them few people sign an NDA.
Somebody would break it. Somebody would break it.
Not for money. Not if they're getting a little.
They could get more by saying it. I'm telling you, I understand what you're saying, because actually a lot of people, especially in Hollywood and OnlyFans realm and all that, they have people sign NDAs just so that there isn't that discussion.
Right, because a lot of people don't want their business spilled out there.
Yeah, okay.
Even in situations where it's not even somebody making bank like that or a bag like that, people sign NDAs all the time. Reality television, stuff like that. They don't want personal details about what school their kids goes to getting leaked, stuff like that. They have people sign NDAs for multiple different reasons.
Yeah, I don't know. All this stuff is gross. I just don't.
But it's like where there comes money, there always comes greed and somebody wanting to expose somebody. So you never know.
Honestly, though, if you're making, I don't know, even 2 million a month, you wouldn't. 2 million. 2 million's a lot of money.
Dude,
$2 million a month.
I would never be able to do that and mix it with my children whatsoever.
How about the kids never find out? 2 million a month.
I mean, I feel like that would just come with a whole nother level of problems, though.
I'm sure it would. But man, money's not a problem anymore. You wouldn't do it?
It would be nice to not have money be a problem, but I don't know. I'm just different. I feel like I don't know. I don't think that would be something I would ever be interested in.
I couldn't do it. I don't know. There is a dollar amount, absolutely. Because at a certain point, if somebody's like, you will instantly get, I don't know, 5,000 subscribers and they're each paying you even like $7 a month, you're making money pretty quick, and you don't have to do another job. You get all that extra time with your family. There are a lot of benefits, so I understand why people do it to some extent, but at the same time, that's you forever. Like, it is going to be online forever.
Right. Also, I feel like a lot of times, there's this one woman that I follow on Instagram. I've been following her on YouTube and Instagram for a while. She recently went through a divorce. She had a really rich husband at one point. She had 4 kids. She had 4 kids. She's 26 years old and she already has 4 kids. Boom, 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 boom. Because I think she knew that the guy that she married, she just married him for his money and that was it. Bet the kids, have the kids, thought it was going to be her meal ticket. They ended up splitting up. She makes a pretty penny off of child support a month, like 7 stacks a month in child support. But she does OnlyFans. But the thing that's very distasteful about her OnlyFans is she's mixing it with pictures of her children on her Instagram to promote it.
Right.
And like she'll be having like pictures and like her like squishing her kids like all up. Like, I don't know, man. It's done in a very distasteful way where it's like she wants the pedos to come to her page.
They're the ones that will spend ridiculous amounts of money, so some of them do try and attract that.
Right. And then I was following on TikTok because this particular woman, she lives in a very nice neighborhood, and her neighbors knew that she was escorting out of her house.
Oh, yeah.
But she was doing it while the kids were home, so she's bringing dudes, and these kids are like 4 and under, like 4, 3, 2, and 1, like boom, 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 boom. And they just had the police out to the house, like they called a SWAT team, everything, neighbors, because they were saying like that's crazy because like we live in this ritzy area, we pay high property taxes, this and that. We don't want trash like this. Right. We don't want these men that are coming here because she's doing this out of her house. She's letting all these dudes know where she lives.
That is part of the thing, though. Same with just the TikTok and like Ashlee Trevino and all these people. They aren't used to having money, especially not money like this. And they can't handle it. They end up broke in about 5 minutes. I mean, and a lot of those people, yes, for the short time that they're doing everything, for a couple years, maybe they're really well off. And then they actually end up worse than they were in the beginning because they got themselves in a hell of a spot and didn't understand how to get out of it because they know nothing about money. And then you have people freaking, I can't remember if Bonnie Blue was the one that done it, but there's Bonnie Blue and somebody else. Like, one of them fools did 1,000 dudes in a day. Like, that was a Guinness World Record. She's in the Guinness World Records.
Right.
It's all over the internet.
Her story didn't match up because so what? Was it like less than like a minute long each person? Like, think about it. How was you getting dudes in and out like that? Out like that many times?
So she did. It was all filmed. I mean, you can watch it if you want.
I'm good. No, I'm good.
What? And sorry to be super, super graphic about this. But basically what counts, so you can be handling and then handling and then handling.
Oh, gotcha.
And then handling, so you can technically get like 5 at a time. And
because I was about to say, the math wasn't mathin' for me to make that make sense.
It's like, I think each guy got like 12 seconds, something around there. Maybe I might be wrong about that, but that's the type of thing. And just think about your mental state to even want to do something like that. But then afterwards, there was one of the girls did like 100 and something in a day, and she was like, just her mental space was gone. She like went insane from it. And this chick, I really hope her name is Bonnie Blue because I can't remember if it was her or the other one that did 1,000. But she just, the way she talks about sex in general, like she'll get with anybody. She doesn't care. Literally, she'll go out on the street and just grab somebody. But yeah, man, it's crazy the stuff people are willing to do. There's so much stuff going on right now. Have you seen like the Blake Lively stuff too?
No.
So Blake Lively was in a movie. It was based off of a popular book. We'll talk about it next time because I cannot remember all the names. Basically, her and this co-star who were the director and producer, they got into this big thing where she's basically trying to like say he's going after her as a woman and called her fat and like did all this evil stuff. and then Ryan got in the mix, and it turned into basically a big fight where all of them are just in this horrible situation. And Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are kind of like the golden couple of Hollywood. So that's this huge deal. You can probably look it up if you guys want, but it's really, really just crazy how entitled some of the people in Hollywood are, because just the way they talk and the way everything is happening, it's insane. We can talk about, you want to do Super Bowl?
You can.
Okay. So for the people that didn't watch the Super Bowl or didn't understand it, or like, I don't care. First off, the Eagles won by far. A lot of people were trying to say because it was Chiefs and Eagles, it's like American Indians and Americans and that whole thing. People read into everything, and who knows how much of this stuff is real, because everybody's saying that the reason the Eagles won is because they represented America, and that would mean it's all staged, and that kind of gets really iffy. The halftime show with Kendrick. So Kendrick Lamar, if you don't know, we did an episode on it a little while back, but Kendrick Lamar has like an intense rap beef with Drake. It's gotten to the point, I mean, it's been lasting months now. They've gone back and forth with different songs and all types of stuff. But that is why the people for the Super Bowl commission, they picked Kendrick to be in the halftime show instead of Lil Wayne, who was the initial choice because that's kind of his home. So Kendrick does a halftime show. There's all this stuff about like all the background dancers are wearing red, white, and blue. He's doing all this stuff with the names of his songs and all this symbolism and all this stuff. And he gets on there and straight up, like, in the camera and everything, he starts doing his song, Not Like Us. Well, that song is basically calling Drake a pedo, all types of stuff, completely just destroying Drake.
So real quick, previous to the Super Bowl, none of this was like rehearsed, or the Super Bowl commission didn't know, they didn't have to approve ahead of time, especially with a show with that much money.
They did.
They did?
Yeah, they approved it. They said he could do it. And what ended up happening later on, so there's very mixed feelings about this, because the older people, really anybody that's like, I don't know, pushing 35 to 40, they don't know who the fuck Kendrick Lamar is. A lot of them don't. They couldn't understand a single word that he was saying, and they didn't really understand like this whole beef. And it hurts Kendrick because you got to understand, and I was explaining this to Maria a little bit before, but if it's like a singer that has a really, really good voice, you can kind of get on there and you can use your voice to possibly win people over. Even if some people don't necessarily like the song, they may like that person's voice, and you can kind of get more traction. You can't really get that with a rapper, because people just, you have to like the person, you have to know the person. So it's kind of one of those, only the young crowd got it. And then there's all this conspiracy about how he took a big shot at not only Drake, but the government, because he had Samuel L. Jackson up there, basically dressed as Uncle Sam, and the names of the songs he was using, he was basically telling people, get off your phones, get off the TV, stop using all these electronics. And then he had some bell bottoms on, Jess, that's for sure. Those things were vicious.
That's the only thing that I do know about the Super Bowl that I remember being talked about was the jeans.
And Steffi, I'm not saying all the older people. A lot of the older people had trouble kind of accepting it. So yeah, there's just a lot of meaning to this. And the question that really stands is, Kendrick is supposedly a very deep guy. Did he actually intentionally create all this symbolism, or are just people reading into it and really all this was about getting back at Drake? Because like he had Serena Williams, who is Drake's ex, come up there and do the crip walk and just all types of stuff. So I don't know. Me personally, I get some of the stuff that people are saying with the symbolism. I do think he was throwing jabs at the U.S. to some degree, which is why he had the red, white, and blue and all that stuff. I do think he was trying to send a message to get off your phones and get back with nature and with people and all that stuff. But Jess just said it right. I don't think the delivery is quite there, and I don't think it's quite as deep as people are reading into. Who knows? I don't know who all got it, because if you go through and you look through the internet, there are either people that are basically saying that it's some profound thing, or that the entire Super Bowl was horrible and that's going to hurt things for next year in the future. I mean, people are already kind of falling off of some of that stuff because you can get it, wherever you want. You can watch highlights and everything like that. Baseball's going downhill. I mean, it's just, I don't know if they will really allow people to have a great halftime show, because now they will regulate things more.
There's always these things though around like Grammy shows or halftime shows or a nipple slip or a this or a malfunction of an outfit or
Hell, I remember like the Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake thing way
that's what I was
before.
talking about, the nipple slip.
Yeah, it just there's all this stuff, and you notice, like, I want to say it was like 2 or 3 years after that, they were very safe with who they chose and the performances. Like, it's, yes, you need that wow factor, and I think that's what everybody's kind of trying to do when they get on that stage, because they are trying to get that awareness. But I don't know. I really think they're gonna cut back on what they actually allow.
The amount of money that goes into the Super Bowl alone is like a crazy amount of money, a crazy amount. Like, what is the going rate for the halftime show for a singer to be paid to
Oh God.
perform?
I feel like I saw it, and I want to say it's close to like 8 mil, something around there. I could be wrong on that. Uh,
Wow.
I know, like an ad on the Super Bowl, like starting. I want to say it's like 500,000, but it could be like double that. I think Alex got it right though, because she said, "I've heard they do it for free." I'm thinking of something else. I'm almost positive you are correct on that, because the only thing they get is the exposure, which is why also giving a good show and making it, really, really interesting is kind of a big deal. But I don't think Kendrick cared about the exposure. All right, we had a couple of other things, but we're pushing at that time. I know the kids are only going to last so long, so we can save the rest of it, and we can talk about the whole Blake Lively thing next time too.
Yeah, I want to look into that myself since I didn't really see anything about it.
Heck yeah, guys, we love you all. Thank you for the last minute.
Thank you.